As in 6 weeks to the end of the season. Clearly, management thought that that was a problem. And Freddie, you were all-knowing. You said it's easier to get rid of one as opposed to 15. Let's listen to what our Freddie Coleman has to say.
It's easier to get rid of one than to get rid of 15. There are 15 players there. They can chant 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks all they want. But this is going to fall on the feet of Brian Shaw. There's no way he's going to be able to keep his job after this, because let's call the crux of the matter here. The Nuggets stink. They're not any good. So this is not just a coach problem. This is a coach and player problem. These players haven't been any good.
See, Freddie, when you do well, we say Freddie's the man.
Well, 1 out of 100.
Yeah, well,
maybe I guess the man. Who knows?
So yesterday, news came out. Obviously, Brian Shaw lost his job. One of his former players, when he was an assistant for the Pacers, spoke out in his behalf. That's David West. Take a look what he had to say. He said, "That's bull." You can imagine there are no grown-ups on that roster. You can't win without grown-ups. Freddie, you called it. Your reaction to this firing?
Well, you know, I'm surprised it happened this soon, to be honest with you. I thought it would last at least another couple of days. It's going to get closer to the weekend before they got rid of Brian Shaw. But you know what? David West said it best. How can you be a grown-up trying to coach grown-ups? And I'm not trying to say that Brian Shaw was going to be the next Phil Jackson. I thought he lacked a lot in terms of communication, how to deal with players. His X's and O's left a lot to be desired. But this is Denver's fault, because why would you bring a guy in to coach players that were George Karl's guys, and you don't try to remake the roster? Because they said, we didn't want an up-and-down style anymore. We want to be better defensively and slow down the game. Well, Kenneth Faried is not going to be his best playing slow-down basketball. Same thing with Ty Lawson. So you brought a guy in to say, do this, a neophyte head coach. What did you think was going to happen when things didn't go well? And the players are going to say, well, we knew the previous way worked. This is not working for us. So why would we think, and why are we going to play for a guy that doesn't want to communicate with us? We're having that headbutting situation time and time again. So Brian Shaw, I'm not going to say he deserved to lose his job. I'm going to say that he didn't make it easy on himself. But the Nuggets organization, why did you fire George Karl in the first place? He won 57 games for your organization, the most wins in the history of that organization, and that didn't work. You don't replace a George Karl with a Brian Shaw. You replace George Karl with a Tom Thibodeau or a Phil Jackson. You don't go backwards in that situation. So Brian Shaw was forced to fall on his sword, because the Denver Nuggets should have never hired him in the first place. They should have kept George Karl, and they would be a lot better off than where they are right now.
Hey, Fagan, did the Nuggets do Brian Shaw a favor by letting him go?
In the short term, they did, because he's probably on a plane to the Caribbean right now. But in the long term, no. I think this is going to have an impact on Brian Shaw in the long run, because of what his whole tenure was marred with, which is a complete inability to relate to these players. I mean, at one point, he even admitted he was reading a book on how to relate to millennials. At one point, he took away their cell phone usage. He had, at one point, a disciplined offense when he came in, and he's like, we need to run and gun. He was wavering. He was vacillating the whole time. He actually said out loud that he didn't relate to NBA guys. Are NBA guys going forward, is like their average age, is it going to increase? No.
And he's a former NBA player.
Yeah.
That was very much an
This is a 48-year-old coach who could not figure out a way over the course of 2 years, almost 2 years, to relate to NBA guys. I mean, I kind of witnessed a situation like this when I covered the Philadelphia 76ers, when they went to the playoffs under Tony DeLeo, who had come in, and they had a solid team, and then they brought Eddie Jordan in with the Princeton offense, because they thought, look, we have a ceiling here. What we need is some sort of scheme, some sort of style, maybe, that can get us over the hump. It was the complete wrong move. He was fired immediately right after the end of that season. That's what seemed to happen here to Brian Shaw, because they had a cap with what they were doing with George Karl. He got the absolute most wins out of that roster, which you could say definitely keep him, or you could say we got to try something. Maybe if we bring in Brian Shaw with his tenure in the Lakers, maybe he'll bring in some sort of style that can get us over the hump. I think in the long run, these players are going to talk to other players and be like, Brian Shaw is your head coach. He doesn't know how to relate to you. He's not going to be able to get the best out of you. I do think that's a problem.
See, I think the other end of that, I think Brian Shaw was almost set up to fail in Denver. If you look at what Tim Connelly said from the beginning of the season, and I quoted it here, he said, and this is bad when you're coming in as a coach and your general manager makes this statement, every player on this roster is a movable asset.
Wow.
You notice when your general
Wow.
manager says that and you come
Including
in
the
as
coach.
right. I guess so, right. So you're almost set up to fail. There's almost expected not to win when that's the attitude of the front office, because what type of commitment are you going to get from your players? I hear what you're saying, Kay. You make a lot of great points about Brian Shaw and his inability to relate with players, but I think the one thing that's going to come back and save him in this situation is what happened to the Indiana Pacers last year when they fell apart when he wasn't there. The rumbles around, but they couldn't control any part of the team and they all fell apart. A lot of that came back to everybody saying Brian Shaw's not here to manage this anymore. And I think that's the reputation he has. I think the league will look at it. Players may say what they want to say, but the league, ownerships, and other general managers will look at Brian Shaw and say, you know what? He got a bad deal in Denver. We're not going to hold that against him. Look at what happened in Indiana and see what his role, once he left there, what happened to that team and how it fell apart. That's the type of coach we're going to get. So that's why I think it's going to benefit him more than his stint in Denver.
Well, Brian Shaw better do a better job selecting his next location. Of course,
no
you're going
question.
Oh, I think they did. I
No
think they did
question.
him. Not to cut you off, but what Kerry said, I think they did him a favor.
Well, listen, though, you're talking about a black man who wants to be a head coach. I know that's not really a bad thing, but he didn't have that much experience, and so he probably took whatever he could get. I mean, they weren't not.
He was the best man
He was the
available.
best man
Yeah.
available.
He was the best man
He was
available.
highly regarded.
And he was at the time, but I know he didn't have a lot of options. I know he said that after the fact, that he wanted another option.
Which is fine. If you want another option, then you go out there and make your other option. If you're Brian Shaw, you can't, to me, you can't bring that into your first job as an NBA head coach saying, well, you know, there was nothing else available, so I took this. Those jobs are very precious to get. And you have to do better as a coach and relating to players. Now, maybe this is a lesson learned because we've seen plenty of coaches fail the first time around. Pete Carroll failed the first 2 times around. Bill Belichick failed the first time around. They turned, okay, not trying to put Brian Shaw in that category. But if you get a chance to reflect, say, okay, these are mistakes I made. But I don't think this is going to help the players because I know from an NBA general manager or coach, and you were part of a mutiny where you guys were in the huddle saying 1, 2, 3, 6 weeks.
Right.
Why would I want that guy on my basketball team?
And here's the deal. Let's say this, as a black man, as a coach, you will get another opportunity. It's not like it was back in the day when black coach got fired and never got another chance. Byron Scott got a few chances. Mike Brown got a few chances.
Paul Silas.
Look, Paul Silas. He'll get another chance. And I'm going to say this right now. In my mind, he's going to wind up having the same role with the New York Knicks that he had with the Indiana Pacers. Phil Jackson doing his thing. He'll be an associate head coach with them.
When does he get another head coach opportunity?
It depends on what happens with
Probably
the Knicks.
3 to 5 years. But
I'd say
my
the same
point
thing,
here
yeah.
is that he better make sure that his style and how he wants to coach them fits that roster.
Right.
I can see him being an effective head coach, absolutely, but it better be very specific about location and roster. He can't go into another situation.
I think he's going to look. We talk about Chip Kelly doing his thing in Philly. I think Phil Jackson's going to do the same thing. I'm going to build a roster with my guys. He'll get Brian Shaw there to coach under Derek
Jackson
Fisher, and if
Phil Jackson will build a coaching roster.
yeah, exactly.
Brian Shaw is the
exactly.
head coach.
No, he'll be associate head coach, and then if it
keep
doesn't
Derek
work out with
Fisher.
Derek Fisher there, then he'll move right in
Yeah,
there.
here's the problem with that. The Phil Jackson coaching tree has not
I
been
know,
good.
I was gonna say, it's
has
not-
been guys that were former assistants
Phil's not.
under him.
I know Phil's not good.
Well, as a
He's
general
looking-
manager,
yeah.
that's left
We're
about
not
Jim
talking about
Clemens.
no. The question was not about whether it'd be good. We're just saying.
Oh, I know, I hear.
lined up. That was my
He'll
thing,
get
right?
another- he'll get another coaching
get a shot,
opportunity.
and there's a situation
Right.
in New York that's right for him
Yep.
right now to get there
I can see
and
that.
get it under his feet. That's all I'm
I
saying.
can see that.
All right, so you called it. You got a job for him. Fill up, bring him in. And
I can just say that it makes
we'll
sense.
run that tape up.
Yeah,
first,
you'll run that tape.
when that
and then
happens.
Scoop called it.
Absolutely.
But you know what y'all will do? Y'all will bring it back on when I'm wrong. And I'm sitting here watching the show at my house and have no way to defend myself. That's what will happen.
Why would you say that?
Yes, you look. Look at all these nice cups these people got out here. Look what I got me drinking. I'll show you how they treat me around
He
here.
didn't even believe that for 1 second, Carrie. You were trying, and I'm not buying that at all, Carrie. Nice try.
Here, you can help my cup.
That's all good. I was choking earlier. Now you're off it. It's all good.
Please take my
You know, I was over here choking earlier. She offered to me. Then I love you too, baby.
Coming up next, the Vikings top brass, they head to Minnesota to talk to Adrian Peterson. We discuss what should be said or what could happen with Adrian Peterson after the break. I didn't know you were choking. I would have given
Your
you...
legs are still in a better position than the Knicks, though.
Listen.